peaceful nature of the Gambians. No tear gas was fired. No gunshots were released.
Discipline.
And the Gambians who celebrated the victory did not target supporters.
Hello.
Of the losing side. He said he wasn't going to lose, but that he said if he did lose, he was going to go to his village to farm. And that's something he has repeated this time around. We will see what happens.
Let's go to Nairobi in Kenya and Peter Ogana. What really made Yaya not want to try to challenge the outcome? I mean, this is the kind of response or reaction one usually sees in Africa, where incumbents don't like to lose elections.
Yeah, exactly.
But he didn't.
Exactly. It's something which is still being investigated. My source says that there was frenetic negotiation on the night of the first up till dawn of the second. Some say it was pressure, but some say it was really frenetic negotiations to ensure that Jammeh would concede defeat, because it was very apparent that he had lost. I spoke to some intelligence officers who said that, the pressure was established. As to who piled the pressure for what is what I'm still investigating. One source says that there was a pressure and even some altercation between President Jammeh and some senior members of the Gambian army. The source says that the senior Gambian army officials wanted him to nullify the results, and that President Jammeh said no, he was going to stand by the results. Whereas the other source says that in fact Jammeh wanted to nullify the results, but the military guys said they wouldn't because the people of Gambia had spoken that they wanted a new regime. Like I say, there's no clear-cut thing, but there indeed was some altercation between the president and some senior members of the army. But I also understand that there was some diplomatic pressure when it had become very clear that he had lost for him to concede.
A question from somebody whose I see here on Facebook, and his name sounds Gambian, Tala Job.
Right.
And Tala Job wants to know, do you know why it took so long for the results to be announced? Initially they had promised that the Electoral Commission had said by midnight following the end of polling.
Right.
But it didn't happen until the next day.
It didn't happen that way. I interviewed the chairman of the Electoral Commission, who, by the way, a lot of people have given credit for the way this whole thing panned out. I spoke to him. I wondered why it took so long, because there was a time when there was a long hiatus. Results had been tallied. I'm sure they had all been in by 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock p.m. And then they were churning out the tallied result based on each constituency. But then there was a long hiatus of about 4 hours when there was no result announced, which brought about a lot of speculation, fever speculation. So when I spoke to the commissioner after he had announced the final results, I wanted to know why it had taken so long for him to give out the result. He said they were busy still processing the results. That doesn't sound convincing to me, because at that level, they were not processing the results. They were basically just collecting what had been tallied at tally centers and sent to the commission to announce. They had, like you rightly said, assured us that they would release the final result by midnight on Thursday nights. That did not happen. So I believe that the frenetic negotiation I was talking about, probably the heavy diplomatic hands that were being brought down, kind of like led to the long hiatus that made us not get the results until the afternoon of the following day.
Now, here's an interesting question, Omar, because you're a BBC journalist and you're supposed to be fair to all contestants, equal time and all of that. But somebody calling themselves Gambia in Banjul asks, Umaru, why did you focus more on Jamia and Barrow than Mama Kande during the elections? Mama Kande, the presidential candidate for the Gambia Democratic Congress Party. There were three presidential contenders, but we kept hearing from the two.
Yeah, actually, it's like in the United States elections, there were not only two candidates. You had another candidate, but hardly did anybody pay attention to them. We chose to focus on those who stood any chance of winning. And clearly, and as a result of vindicated, those two men were the only ones that stood any chance, realistic chance of winning. I mean, clearly Mama Kande was a very good candidate. But the other thing that happened as well was I chased him at some point to get some reaction from him, even if not making him as a likely winner of the contest. But it was very difficult to reach out to him. At the last minute, I did get through to his public relations officer, but we reminded ourselves that on that day, that was a rest day, we were not allowed to put out any political broadcast. So therefore, even though the window wanted to give to him eventually, we couldn't because of that ban on political campaigning on the eve of election.
And Ibrahim Ajalo in Banjul, the Gambia. Umaru, what single thing impressed you most during your time in the Gambia?
It's difficult for me to say one, but I can assure you that I went to Gambia just after being at the United States elections. And one marked similarity I saw was the fact that when people were campaigning, they would sing the national anthem of the Gambia, exactly as it happened in the United States. In other African countries where I've been to and covered elections, they would sing hymns, chants, and mantras of their political parties. But the Gambians stood by their national anthem, and I felt so proud of them. But the other thing was the peaceful nature of the Gambians. No tear gas was fired, no gunshots were released, and the Gambians who celebrated the victory did not target supporters of the losing side, which, to be honest, happens even in some developed democracies. When winners are celebrating, they target the homes and shops of the losers. That did not happen in the Gambia, and I felt very proud of the Gambians for that.
Umaru, somebody wants you to be a roving reporter of presidential elections. Akuma in Bamenda, Cameroon. Mr. Fofana, will you be there here in Cameroon to cover our presidential election in 2018? Can you see the same thing happening in Cameroon?
My bosses are listening in, and they will have to make that determination here. But I would love to be in Cameroon. It's a country I've been following for many, many years, and I would like to meet the SDP leader, John Frundi, and ask him a few questions about whether he's really a socialist or not, and whether Cameroonians should buy into that socialist philosophy. And I'd love to meet the president to ask him why he's been in power for so long. And somebody was joking that I went to the United States, the opposition won. I went to Gambia, the opposition won. So probably if I go to Cameroon, who knows?
I hope you're not going around. Anyway, here's one sent by somebody called Lovey West. I would be more convinced with the coalition if the power is handed to lawyer Usainu Dabo. Just explain who Usainu Dabo is for somebody who doesn't know.
Well, Usainu Dabo is seen as the godfather of the president-elect Adama Barrow. But for his imprisonment, that's the imprisonment of Usainu Dabo, we could never have heard of Adama Barrow. It was after he had been arrested together with dozens of his party members for protesting on the streets of the Gambia, asking for political and electoral reforms, that eventually the opposition came together and coalesced and chose Adama Barrow, who is a member of the United Democratic Party, Usainu Dabo's party, and they chose him as their presidential standard bearer. Now, Dabo was in prison until yesterday when he was released on bail. The thinking across Gambia is it's going to be the Aung San Suu Kyi of the Gambia, the real power behind the throne, the man leading country. And in fact, yesterday, when Dabo was being released,
network issues.
the president-elect, conspiracists are saying that if Barrow appoints Dabo,
There's no confusion around that. There shouldn't be any form of confusion around.
On our Facebook Live page. Umaru, thinking forward, the next steps now in the Gambia, what happens in terms of the transition? You know,
there is no transition. They will now come together with the other political parties to agree on a way forward. But don't write off the APRC yet, off at all.
Thank you. And Chairman Okajang, Umaru, we the Gambians are proud of you. We pray for you.
We will find a way of covering the Gambia, probably by having a Gambian on the ground. Things have now changed. Before now, there was a concern that whoever was the BBC correspondent in the Gambia.
Questions and comments, maybe you can continue.
Go for it. Hey, Lomo.
Njolo jinka kumbu kaya masikuka makande nalo mpash makande atayale kudo di ala 5 million euro ala na wona Senegal janta na kasi ala hotel hotel naka dia ayenta lombat 5 million euro ayole di ala pour ke fala ko sa wa congratulations félicitations idega mana yala mu nekk sa njigla ay
ba mana ni mana ni ngi kontaan bu baax because the happiness
ay amul benn problème ñu ngi ànd ak yow dina ñaanal jama li nga yenu yàlla nga ko attan parce que Gambie tuuti na waaye antax ko moo jafe waaye Gambie ma ne Gambie tuuti na waaye antan ko moo jafe loolu dama la wax rek dama la junju waaye nga xam ne
mane bët yenu mais xam na lu bopp attan loolu dama la junju rek